Hello everyone, this is Vinay here from Learn Coding with Vinay. In this video, we are going to discuss about good and bad practice of insert. So let's dive into it. So I have created one simple table which is employee. Let me create it. Yeah, so it has four columns: ID, which will be an auto-generated identity column, employee name, birth date, and department. Right. Since we all just created the table, we don't have any data over there. Right. Now, let's discuss the good practices first and bad practices later, because in this case, bad practices example would require more time in explanation. So let's take a example of good practice first. Right. So always specify column names. The good practice says always specify column names in your insert statement. Right. Whenever you are writing insert. For example, over here, let's say insert into table name. Then we have specified the list of columns, and in the values we have specified the values for each of the column. Right. So here we will have to maintain the sequence of the column and their values. Right. So while employee name, we'll have to make sure we are passing employee name, birth date we are passing some date, and department we are passing department. Right. So let me run this. One row got inserted. Let me run these, and we have one recording. Right. Second, right, even if we the benefit of this is, even if we change the column order, right, and if we are maintaining the sequence of the values as the column orders, then it will work. For example, in second example, if you see, we have employee name first, then the department, then the birth date. Right. And values we have passed accordingly: employee name, department, and then birth date. Right. So basically it's a key value pair kind of thing we are passing correctly, so this will also work. Right. So this is good. So let me check the second record also. Right. So we have the second record also. Right. Now this is about inserting one row at a time. Now what if you want to insert multiple row at a time? Then we can use row constructor, which allows us to insert more than one row in a single SQL statement. Right. So how do we write it? So till this point it remains the same: insert into your table name, then the list of column name, then the values in the same sequence of what column name we have declared. Right. And then we can specify multiple by using comma, another row, we can add one more and have another row. Right. So let's, as of now, let me run this two record, and we see two rows affected. Now if I go up and see the data, then it will show us four records now. Right. So up to here, we have seen the good practice of inserting one record and inserting multiple records. Right. So always specify column names. That's the good practices. Now what is the bad practice over here? Right. Now the bad practice example, look at this example. Now we are inserting the data using insert statement, but here we have not specified column names, just like this. Right. We have not specified column names. However, this will work. Let's see. Right. One row affected. Why? Because we have specified the data in the same sequence. The table columns are in the table columns. Right. So whenever table was created, so whenever we are using this approach, we will have to make sure that whatever values we are passing, that matches the column sequence when the table was created. Right. So let me refresh it over here. Right. Let me expand this. Let me expand column. Right. So we have to pass it into the same sequence of this column. So first is employee name, second is birth date, which is here, and third is department, which is here. Right. So then why it is called bad practice? So let's see what are the issues over here with this approach. Right. So first thing, it depends on your original column order. Right. Second, not readable, not maintainable. Right. So let's understand first these 2 points. Right. So let's consider an example that uh, we are working on this insert script after the table was created, maybe 5 to 6 months after the original table was created. Then we probably would have forgotten what our columns were there in the database table. Right. So if you look at this insert statement, we are missing the column name over here. Right. So we don't know in which column we are putting down what data. right? Although this is a very simple table example, so we know that this is this and this is that. But imagine you have a table that has column more than 20-25 columns, right? It will be difficult to remember all those, right? So that's the first point, right? then then every time you will have to remember the column order also. Now here we don't know the column first thing, right? Now even if we now the column orders, right? So every time we will have to visit the table definition and we will have to check the column sequence, and in the same sequence we will have to pass the values, right? So first is name, second is birth date, then the department. Name, birth date, and the department, right? So it is a little difficult to, as a maintenance point of view also, right? Because every time you will have to visit the schema and see what our columns are there. So instead of that, if we would have specified column names, all column names here only, then we know these are the column, these are the data we are passing in, so that becomes easier, right? Now next 2 points: breaks easily if table schema changes and leads to hard to find bugs in large systems, right? Now next 2 points, let's understand it by an example. Let's say over time period someone deletes the birth date column and re-adds it, right? Someone deletes the birth date column for any reason. Let's say as of now we have taken birth date as a date and time. Let's say that since birthday doesn't require time, we should ideally store it as a date type only, right? So someone has dropped the table sorry column birth date from the table and re-added with the correct data type, right, which is date. Ideally this should not happen. Ideally you should take some backup and do some data massaging and then put it down over here, yeah, something like that, right? But consider that someone deleted the even accidentally someone deleted the one of the column and re-added it, right? So if we fire the select statement now, what we will see is that our employee name is the first column, department is second column, and birth date is third column now, right? Let me refresh it over here also, right? So employee name, department, and birth date, right? So so basically the column order has changed, right? Column order has changed. If I go ahead and fire this which is without columns, right, then it will generate error, right? Because we are passing something characters instead of date over here, right? So it gives us the error for the birth date because here we are passing sales word over there, right? And if you have specified the column names, right, just like this, then it is not dependent on your column order that was there in your physical table, right? We can pretty much insert this if the column names and it corresponding values matches, right? So here we can see there is one row inserted, right? So we actually the good habit saved us over here, right? Another disadvantage of this bad practice is that imagine this kind of insert statement we have used in multiple stored procedures, right, and multiple large script, those are part of some scheduling jobs or maybe they are running at independently in some other program, right, not just in SQL Server. So anything that is in SQL Server, for example store procedure, we can pretty much see it over here and we can correct it, right? But again that is a tedious task, right? Again, let's say you had to modify more than 100 store procedure, it's a tedious task, right? But what about those script, those are deployed as a background jobs and somewhere there it will start breaking, right? And it will be difficult to debug and find a root cause, what happened, what not, right? So that is one major disadvantage of this approach, right? So that's why we should always specify column names when we are inserting the data, right? We should not take a shortcut of not specifying column names, right? So I hope you learned something new today. Thanks for watching the video. See you in the next video.